There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800 Water Damage of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800 Water Damage of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.
Good morning, Meteorologist Lisa Green here, and welcome to this Valley News Now weather update brought to you by 1-800 Water Damage of North Dakota. Today we are looking at, a very windy day happening here, and a warm one too. Temperatures have been soaring in the valley. Some very warm numbers here today. So I want to get into the details on this warm up, the wind, how much longer it's going to last, how long the warm up will last, and then we're also going to talk about, of course, our first alert weather day on Thursday. This one has the potential to be a pretty powerful system, bringing with it some intense wind, and then on top of that, there are areas that are going to get snow. And so we're going to talk about our latest returns on our model runs, so what we're looking at as far as what we may see as far as snowfall amounts, and then in addition to that, of course, looking out for the potential for blowing snow and the possibility that we may see blizzard conditions in parts of the valley. So a lot to go over here. Let's get right to it. You can see behind me, the camera is shaking quite a bit. We'll pull up that image full screen here for you. You can see that we've got the wind really going. It's out of the west in the Dakota Magic Casino Skycam view. And that is going to be an area where we are still seeing some sunshine, and we're seeing that wind increase. But everywhere that's happening, really, here in the valley. So again, let's talk about what we're first alerting you to here in the forecast. We've got some areas. I'm just going to pull up something for you here. As we're looking at the weather for today, we're watching out for the possibility for some really strong wind gusts. So talking about gusts getting into the 40s and 50s for us this afternoon. Not everybody gets to 55, but there is that possibility that some of us see that. So it is going to be rather strong. And then in addition to that, we're watching out for conditions that are going to be on that unsettled side as far as the wind is concerned throughout the entire week. So it's not just today. And one other thing to note, slushy wet roads, our parking lots with ponding, and our neighborhood streets that weren't plowed end up getting compacted snow on them during the winter season. And so that's all turned into slush here this afternoon. And then as temperatures drop tonight, be prepared for that to ice back over, by the way. And then looking at the first alert weather day, the possibility of blizzard conditions is there. The system is going to bring snow and more wind gusts, probably actually higher than 50 miles per hour for some parts of North Dakota. And we'll take a look at that for you too. So we've got some alerts to talk about. The first one is for today. We're looking at a wind advisory. Covers most of the valley for those gusts to 55 miles per hour. This is in effect for most areas until 6 p.m. So that gives you an idea how long these stronger winds will last. And taking a look at our forecast for us, we'll continue to see some of our strongest wind gusts through the rest of the morning into the afternoon. And then, it's still breezy tonight, but it does start to taper. We're looking at Devil's Lake. This is one of the areas that we could see that gust top 50 miles per hour in the valley. So let's take a look at our gusts right now. Speaking of 50, do you see this number all the way out to the west? Minot has a gust right now of 61 miles per hour. So some of us are already seeing some intense wind gusts here this morning. And so that continues on for that area. We have gusts into the 30s in Langdon and Grand Forks, Fargo gusts to 28, and still fairly quiet to the east. So again, this wind field going to be working its way through as a low that's passing by north of us also sweeps through. So let's take a look out to the northwest a little bit more. Again, Minot really experiencing some of the strongest gusts right now. And again, that's moving east toward places like Devil's Lake where we see some of that stronger wind. So here's a look at our temperatures. We are soaring. We're looking at 48 degrees in Grand Forks right now, 41 in Fargo. So, our coldest temperature on Sunday morning was 29 degrees, and now we're at 48. And so we're looking at temperatures that are a good 70+ degrees warmer from a part of the valley on Sunday morning to a part of the valley this morning. Not necessarily drawing a direct comparison to the same site, but this gives you an idea, again, just how much warmer we've gone here in the region. And we're looking at 41 in Fargo. Jamestown's at 46 currently. We've got some 40s over toward Bemidji and Detroit Lakes as well. So it's warm everywhere after some 20s below zero in the region on Sunday. So Northern Valley and the Eastern Valley is where we saw some of those lowest temperatures. And so this isn't the 48-hour comparison. This is just the last 24. We warmed up yesterday from the weekend. And today we're still, even warmer still from there. Look at Wantina. 49 degrees warmer right now than this time yesterday. That's pretty intense. 38 degrees warmer in Grand Forks. So again, temperatures are surging with this warmer air rushing into the low. And I just wanted to zoom in a little more on some of our temperature reports coming in, checking in on some of our other locations. War Road, Roseau, 41 and 42. Walhalla's at 45. Cavalier, 46. It's 45 in Carrington and in the Southern Valley. Moorhead's at 43. Fargo's at 41 again. And more places into the 40s. Staples checking in at 43 degrees. And it's 46 in Oaks and in Jamestown. So again, warming things up here. It's been a little bit since we've seen 40s in the valley. Basically since November when the bottom fell out and we ended up moving into winter just like that. It was like a snap of the finger heading into the end of November and into December. So we're looking at our visible satellite map right now and our radar. You can see there is precipitation mainly passing by north of the border. And you can see on our radar right now that we are pretty quiet elsewhere. Just some clouds moving through in the parts of the Southern Valley where, again, we'll take this full screen. It's easier to see that way without all the lights. You can see that we've got where we have movement, that's where clouds are. Where you see white that isn't moving, like as we take a look over toward the west, you can actually make out Lake Sakakawea here. So clear skies or at least thin clouds allowing us to have that view still. And then you could see snowed, iced over upper and lower Red Lake too. So clear there. But in the Southern Valley, we've got clouds overhead blocking our view of the snowpack and those features. But again, just want to focus in on the fact that, there we go. That this system mainly passing by the precip with it north of us. Some of that may dip into the valley, especially along the international border, and then kind of points into northwest Minnesota today and into tonight. So our forecast highs today, we bumped Fargo up because we're at 41 now, and it's just after the 10 o'clock hour that came in. I'm hoping we'll get a new reading here soon as we're moving into the 11 o'clock hour. But looking at a high of 46, Grand Forks, we've already hit 48. And just windy weather going on with 40s across the board again for today. Not quite a record. A record stay in the 50s, but definitely feels like it with the incredible warm-up we've had. So we it's that time of year. We have the holiday train coming to the region. Moving into Minnesota today, some of our stops include Detroit Lakes, Mahnomen, Plummer, and the Thief River Falls area. And you can see that we've got warm weather for the train coming through. We're going to be seeing temperatures through the evening that get into the 40s initially, again through mid-afternoon, and then heading into the evening, they'll be dropping by around 8 o'clock. I think that's around the time that it'll be around Thief River Falls, but you'll want to check. We've got a story on our website that gives you the times. In fact, I can try to look it up right now. Yes, I can. Let's pull it up for you. Might as well. We have the ability to do so. So this is our homepage, and we can just click right here on the holiday train, and here's a look at our times. So Alexandria, it's there right now, or will soon be there. And then moving into Mahnomen at 4:20, and the Plummer area at 6:15. I believe Detroit Lakes, it's not on this list. Oh yeah, here it is. Detroit Lakes at 2:45. And then in Mahnomen, it'll be 4:20 to 4:50. So sticks around for about a half hour. So you better be there on time if you want to get to enjoy it. And then the Plummer area at 6:15. And yes, 8:15 is when it departs Thief River Falls tonight. And just so you know, for those of us in southeastern North Dakota, tomorrow it'll be in Hankinson, and then in the evening hours, and then Enderlin as well later in the nighttime. for tomorrow. And Carrington also on the 18th. The train will be moving through town. So several opportunities to get out and see the holiday train. So again, love to see that every year. If you get some pictures, you can upload those to our website. We'd love to see them. This photo in the background here is from a viewer, so we always appreciate that. So yeah, it is going to be mild. Even as temperatures drop this evening, it shouldn't be too cold, but I would wear your layers because, you know, I mean, when we're still looking at winds that are gusting, we'll step over here, winds that are gusting to 30 miles per hour at 28 degrees, that's going to be kind of chilly when we factor in the wind chill. So still we'll want the coat, but it won't be as frigid as it could be, we'll say. So again, that's a fun thing to look forward to for today and in the next couple of days around parts of the valley. And so let's talk about our forecast for today. We're going to see mostly sunny skies continue. The clouds that are hanging around will move on, and we'll get some conditions that are looking pretty good heading into afternoon. However, again, we've got these areas of mixed precipitation, rain and snow north of the border that may dip south. There's going to be some clouds with that as well. So places like Langdon and Roseau, you're going to be more under the clouds this afternoon, and that potential for some moisture is there. I think our warmest temperatures are going to be around midday into the early afternoon. And some of us may see 50 here in Jamestown. We're looking at that potential forecast. With that wind still looking rather strong, especially Devil's Lake, northeastern North Dakota is where I expect to see our strongest wind, closer to the low. And then moving on into the afternoon, the wind turns northwesterly, and so cooler air starts to move in, and we start to cool down. So our temperatures are more back into the 30s, some of us even into the 20s along the international border. It won't be a huge drop. We're not going to suddenly drop below zero, but we are cooling down heading into tonight. You can see, I should point out the holiday train forecast was for the Detroit Lakes area, but by later tonight, the train's going to be up in Thief River Falls, so you're actually going to be closer to 20 degrees, maybe even slipping into the teens at 8 p.m. So want to point that out as well. So again, looking at conditions that are going to be colder, and dropping below freezing. So where there's melting, that freezes back up. So icy again on some of those sidewalks and roadways here tonight once we see those temperatures drop. They will drop down into the single digits and some teens in the northeast overnight, and then more holding on to 20 or so over toward the James River Valley heading into tomorrow morning. But let's move ahead to 8 o'clock tomorrow. You can see the wind already picking back up, already returning to the south because the next system is approaching. So that first low moves by, it clears away, and then Wednesday we're looking to that next one, that more powerful one that has the potential to have greater impacts on us here in the valley. So let's take a look at these changes that are happening for us here. So I'm calling it weather whiplash today. I should have bumped this up to 46. We've upped our forecast here. Warm and windy weather, a lot of melting going on in parts of the valley. Some of us are even closer to that 50-degree mark today. And then by Thursday, with this next system moving in, it's going to be snowy, windy, potential for blizzard conditions, and temperatures that are going to be just so much colder, about 7 degrees for your high on Thursday. If we get there, there may be some areas that are below zero on Thursday. We'll see. But here's a look at the next couple of days just to kind of give you an example of what we'll experience. Wednesday, I don't want to just completely overlook Wednesday. We will be mild. We won't be as warm as today. We'll be more into the 30s, but still, kind of creeping above freezing or getting to close to 40 in places like Jamestown. And then you can see these rain chances at Devil's Lake and Jamestown. As we work our way into the afternoon and evening Wednesday, the system will be starting to approach, and so we may see some showers, rain showers, in those areas at that point in time before it changes over to snow as the system moves overhead. And so for Thursday, snow chances. And you can see a range of temperatures. We're looking at, temperatures the farther west you are, the colder it will be. The farther east, it's going to take longer for that system to move through and the colder air to move in will be a little bit milder. So Bemidji, Detroit Lakes, getting a little bonus of, temperature going on heading into the day on Thursday. Okay, so let's move into this next system. Let's get into the details on it. So here are our latest alerts. One thing I want to stress here, this is for Thursday's system. Again, we don't have any alerts yet for the Red River Valley, most of our viewing area, because this area is serviced, most of this area is serviced by the Grand Forks National Weather Service office. The James River Valley, which is under a high wind watch for tomorrow, you are under the purview of the Bismarck National Weather Service office. And this morning, the Bismarck office went ahead and started issuing alerts, headlines for this system coming up for Thursday. The Grand Forks office, a little farther east, a little farther down the pike here, is holding off until this afternoon. So we'll likely get some alerts coming up here heading into the afternoon hours, probably winter storm watch, something along those lines, but it'll be something we'll be watching out for. So don't think that we're okay. We are not. We're going to be impacted by this system in these areas that don't have alerts currently. Now, okay, so there is a high wind watch here for much of western North Dakota, the Bismarck area, and it does include the James River Valley, Carrington through Jamestown through Edgeley and Ellendale. This starts Wednesday evening and lasts through Thursday evening. And gusts could reach 65 miles per hour. So we're looking at some intense winds with this powerful low. And this is an area where we may see some snow, but we're more likely to see snow north and east from there. So Minot and back over into a little portion of our viewing area, Rolette County and Rolla, under a winter storm watch. We're still looking at wind gusts 65 miles per hour, but we're also looking out for snow combined with that. And so that winter storm watch also in effect from the evening hours on evening hours on Wednesday through Thursday or into Thursday morning. So again, watching for conditions that are going to be getting tough starting Wednesday in the second half of the day in the western part of the state, and then it starts to move eastward. And we'll be watching for headlines to get issued for later on this afternoon. Okay, here's our hour-by-hour planner. I'm going to go back here again just really quick, and then I just want you to watch as this system develops. We'll play this through again. We're going to see Wednesday evening that chance for some rain, perhaps a little snow mixed in there, a possibility of a mix happening in the valley as we head into Wednesday evening. By the time we get into Thursday overnight, this is 2 a.m., we may end up in the kind of warm sector of this system, which tends to be a little drier. It's called the dry slot for this system. And so we will maybe have a little bit of a break before the wraparound snow starts to work its way through as the low moves through. And so it'll drop south on the backside of the low. Now, track of the low is going to be super critical here for our Northern Valley viewers because some models are keeping the heavier snow north of the border. Some are drifting it a little farther south now. And so we're watching that closely because if that happens, you're going to get more snow over a longer stretch of time, and that means the potential for heavier snow in the north. So that's something we're watching for with this system with some changes with the model track on a couple of the models. I'll show you that in just a moment. But let's move through time here on this particular model. This is one of the models that does drive the heavier snow a little farther south earlier on. So this is 6 a.m., about 6:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. And I'm seeing some pockets of white embedded in the deep blue in northwest Minnesota. That indicates some very heavy snowfall rates. So that's a possibility that we'll be dealing with that basically Highway 2, points north especially, along with an increase in wind. You see these arrows here. We'll break down the wind in just a little bit, but just kind of keep an eye on those arrows as the snow is moving through. So we're looking at that happening as we're getting into Thursday morning. It may not be terrible yet for the morning commute in the southern end of the valley. But once we get into that 9 o'clock hour, conditions may worsen over time in the south with the wind increasing and increasing chances for snow. Meanwhile, in the north, we could be seeing ongoing snow showers and wind to go with that too. So that could get messy in the northern valley. But southern valley, that might be a little deceiving. You may, if you're an early riser like me, you may step out the door and see nothing's happening yet and be like, well, everything's fine, What's going on with this system? Well, it may not have arrived yet, so you'll still want to make sure you're prepared for blowing snow and falling snow. In the southern valley, too, throughout the course of the morning, it may worsen. Now, heading into midday, there's that wraparound snow continuing to drop southward. We still have the wind. This is around 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Right over the heart of the valley, northwest Minnesota, starting to clear things out to the west. And then into the afternoon, the 4 o'clock hour, we're seeing that snow still lingering, still some wind, but it is starting to show signs of moving on. And by the time we get into the 7 o'clock hour, you can see that mostly the snow is done, but there is still a little bit of wind going on, a little bit of blowing and drifting happening in that time frame. That moves on, and we'll again continue to focus on Thursday. I just don't want to ignore the fact that we also are watching for another chance, another shot at some snow showers heading into Friday. I know Friday's a huge travel day, heading into the weekend before Christmas, so we want to make sure that we're aware that we may run into that too. So once things are all said and done Thursday, it doesn't mean we're in the clear necessarily heading into Friday. Okay, so let's talk about snowfall potential. I'm going to show you two different models here and just show you what we're kind of contending with. This is the European model, and this has been consistently showing a range here of the lighter blue is 0 to 1, this next step blue is 1 to 3 inches, and then 3 plus is like right along the border, so 3 to 4 inches or so. And that's been pretty steady, and that's what most of our models have generally been showing up until this morning, essentially, up until the last 12 hours or so. So a lot of models just kind of keeping the heavier snow. You can see these purple areas. That's that 12 plus range, way north of the border. But a couple of models, again, in recent runs, have shown a different view. So let's look at a different model. Now, the model I just showed you, that's called the graph model, and that's our in-house model here that we have at the station through our graphics system. And that has been showing a change, and so has the American model as well. So showing some heavier snow dipping southward, and so the track of the low a little farther south, and the potential for heavier snow in the northern valley looks a little greater right now for those two models. So right now what we're looking for is to see if this trend continues in subsequent model runs. And they run, certain models run every few hours, others only every 6 or 12 hours even. So we wait to see that there's some consensus going on and that the change is going to continue to stick around in our model runs. So that's what we're watching for. But you can see that we've got this deeper blue area, Highway 2 points north. That's that 6 to 12 range. Rosa, Lake of the Woods area, more than that. That is a bit much, but again, still something we're going to be watching for. Meanwhile, in the Southern Valley, still in that 1 to 3 range at this point in time. So stick with us. We're going to get more models coming in through the day, and we'll continue to update you on how this snow situation is looking with this system as far as the track is concerned with the low. But right now, there are a couple of models trying to push in some heavier snow into the Northern Valley. So that's something we're watching closely here. So I want to kind of give you that full disclosure of the decision-making process that we're doing here when it comes to putting out our snowfall forecast. So not quite there yet, not ready for it yet, because we're still watching these model changes that are happening. The bottom line is whether we get an inch of snow or 6 inches of snow, as that snow is falling, it's going to be very windy. And so that's when we're watching out for very low visibility and conditions that are going to be very tough to see while you're driving on the roads, drifting on the roadways as well, fresh snow on the roads leading to slick and snowy road conditions as well coming up for Thursday, especially into the morning and daytime hours on Thursday. So again, that's looking at snow. Let's talk about wind here. I'm going to step through our wind starting today because each day this week is going to be windy. So these numbers here, those are your winds in miles per hour. So you can see that there is the potential as we go through the morning that we may see some wind gusts of 50 miles per hour. And the possibility that that's happening in eastern North Dakota is a little bit greater. The rest of us were talking about more 30s and 40 mile per hour gusts. So windy, but certainly not unusual for us here in the valley. This continues into the afternoon, and this evening this does start to kind of ease up. This is 9 o'clock. Gusts still in the 20s and 30s at that point. And then through the overnight hours, those numbers really come down and we get a break. I'm zipping ahead here because we're heading into Wednesday now, but we'll have a break in the morning, and then Wednesday, more gusts into the 30s to some 40s, still windy, perhaps not as windy as today, and definitely not as windy as will be on Thursday, but still some wind on Wednesday ahead of this next system. And so now let's take a look at Wednesday night, starting to see some wind pick up out to the west, but it really is into the morning hours on Thursday where we get these gusts picking up even more. And you can see Langdon, Rolla starting to work their way into that 50-plus mile per hour range that could get even stronger in the northeastern part of North Dakota. I think that's kind of right now it looks like where we've got the bullseye for the strongest winds and the potential for heavy snow. But everywhere in the valley, still looking out for it. And by noon on Thursday, we're still seeing gusts into the 40s, between 40 and 50 miles per hour for several spots. And you can see the 40s are working their way south and east as the low makes its way in that direction too. So by the time we get into overnight hours, we'll be seeing that wind ease up. And then again, don't want to ignore Friday. Friday, a chance for some wind gusts getting into the 30s and 40s. So it's going to be windy every day this week. The most intense winds probably coming on Thursday with that system that's heading our way. Okay, so let me just bring you some happy news, because I feel like it's a little bit doom and gloom lately with snowstorms and cold and all that. We've got some daylight. We're not necessarily overall during the day gaining daylight, but we're starting to see some gains in one part of the day. So we'll talk about this here. So yesterday in Fargo, our sunrise was at 8:05. Today, our sunrise was at 8:06. So we're still losing sun in the morning hours. However, in the evenings, our earliest sunrise is 4:38. So we've been at that range for a while now. I think it's at least a week, a couple of weeks maybe. But we're starting to gain daylight in the evening hours. So still looking at a net loss as we head toward the solstice on Sunday. We're still just overall throughout the course of the day losing daylight, but we're shifting more of the daylight into the evening hours right now. And so looking at gaining an extra minute of daylight in the evening coming up for today. And we'll gain daylight overall heading into the after the solstice, after we reach. Solstice in Latin means sun stop. So the sun stops its progression and turns back, or at least it looks like that in the sky, turns back to moving in either to more higher up on the horizon in the northern hemisphere during the winter solstice, or lower in the horizon in the winter solstice for the southern hemisphere. So again, looking at starting to see our sunsets at least getting a little bit later, even if we're not gaining daylight just yet. Okay, so that was the one little bit of good news. I hope that you enjoyed that here. But we are looking at conditions that are definitely going to feel winter-like here for the coming days this week. Today, tomorrow, feeling like we are in the midst of a spring thaw, but that is short-lived. Take the time to enjoy that while you can. Maybe you've got some stubborn ice or snow on your decks or on your driveways that you want to chip away at, and hopefully these temperatures are helping with that. But again, Thursday, much colder, and you can see we are looking at a first alert weather day on Thursday for that potential for snow and wind. Friday, starting off the morning below zero. We've got another system approaching that we just showed you that's going to help to warm us up with some wind. And we'll get back to about 20 degrees with a chance for some snow. And then heading into Saturday, back down again. Some cold temperatures on Saturday. We'll see those numbers drop through the day. On the winter solstice on Sunday, we will see temperatures starting below zero. And then it's Christmas week, next week. We're looking at temperatures starting pretty cool. Monday might be a little milder. There is a chance for a little bit of snow Monday and into Tuesday. But once that clears, we'll have to climb back up. But right now, Monday does look a little milder, getting to 25 on the 25th here for Christmas Day. So it looks pretty better for maybe getting outside and doing some sledding on Christmas Day after all the fresh snow we're going to have, or just getting back and forth to where you need to be. Right now, it still looks quiet for holiday travel on Christmas Day. So here we are. A lot to talk about today. We've been discussing, of course, the big warm-up that we're seeing right now that we're in the midst of, and the wind associated with that too, and then keeping our eyes on our first alert weather day for Thursday for the potential for some intense winds, and looking out for the potential for some snow. And maybe we'll see a little bit more with this one again in the Northern Valley. That's something we'll have to watch over the next couple of model runs here. So we'll have another update from our afternoon crew later today, who will be looking at the latest models and letting you know what to expect. And then I'll be right back here tomorrow morning to assess the latest on that storm system that's approaching and bring you the latest on what to expect. So stick around, check back with us. You can always check the VNN weather app for the latest on the conditions that we're experiencing at the moment, and of course on the latest forecast as well. In the meantime, enjoy this warm up, this little taste of spring before it's even really fully, truly winter without the solstice happening yet. Enjoy that today, and again, we'll continue to keep you updated on the next system that's going to be headed our way for Wednesday night and into Thursday. Have a good day.
There's no such thing as a small disaster. So when you call 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota, we come prepared to restore your life back to normal. From burst pipes to unexpected mold discoveries or fire damage, when things couldn't be worse, we come to you with our best. With empathy, local expertise, and a truck full of seriously powerful equipment. 1-800-WATER DAMAGE of North Dakota. Restoring what matters most. 701-670-2022.